Okay, hello everyone. How are we doing? Find the chat for me, please. Anywhere. Find the chat and let me know where you're watching from. I'd love to hear that. I've got some people in Zoom here. I've got two people watching in the Facebook group. Welcome. Hello. Find the chats for me, please. And let me know where you're watching from. Trina says snowy cold in Canada. Teresa Moore says in Florida. Brilliant. Very nice. Right, I had this stupidity going on with comments on my post in Facebook, so I apologize. I'm just gonna, can someone on Facebook let me know that you can hear me? I'm really excited. Oh, it's snotty today. I apologize up front. Right, I am going to record and then we are gonna start. There we are. Beautiful ladies. How are we all doing? Hello, Brandy. Hope you're feeling better. It feels absolutely, absolutely amazing to be back here with you live today. So I'm so grateful that you've shown up for yourself, for me, by being here. And whether you're joining me live or watching the replay, thank you for making yourself a priority. It is brilliant, that. Right. Before we dive into this powerful interactive masterclass today. Hello, Diane. I saw you. Before we dive into this powerful interactive masterclass today, I want to take a few moments to connect with you personally and share some helpful tips to make sure that you are getting the most out of this space and all the support I am offering inside the Shatter Chaos and Conditioning Facebook group. Now, as some of you have already heard me say before, inner training is that I post daily in the group. I share insights, inspiration, empowering messages to help you break free from the internal turmoil and conditioning. But as you may have noticed, Facebook doesn't always show these posts on your timeline automatically. There is actually a simple, quick fix for that. If you go into the actual group page, so the starting page of the group, in the right top corner, it doesn't really matter if you're on your tablet, your laptop, or your phone, in the right top corner, you see 3 dots. If you click on the 3 dots, you get a menu pop up. You can then click on show notifications. Click on that, and then you can basically see that the default of the posts that you see of the Shatter group are probably clicked as highlights or the most important messages. Now you can change that to see all, and then you basically get to see all the posts that I post daily in the Shatter group. You get them to see on your timeline, which would be great because you know, I share for a reason, and I do think that it could just make your day just a little bit better sometimes. And it's just a simple way of staying connected and keep receiving the support that you deserve. Now, what I also do is how many people have we got here now? 4. Hello. I basically send everyone a message when they start coming into the Facebook group. Now, unless you have stated that you don't want me to, I do send you that message. Now, if you haven't seen it in your main inbox yet, it may have landed in your spam or message requests folder. Please check there. because once you've seen that message, I can actually then continue the conversation with you and send you more resources if you would like them to. So I won't be able to do that. I won't be able to send you any unless you have seen or acknowledged my initial message. Now, to do that is basically go into your Messenger app, and then in the top left corner, there is, I think, a circle with 3 stripes or 2 stripes in it. If you click on that, you can then see that there is message requests. If you click on that, you then get a spam folder and people you may know. Click on both and I might be in there. So have a look, because I would love to go into that conversation with you. Now, a quick email update for the people that don't know this yet. I've made a slight change to my email schedule from the beginning of the year because I am really committed to keeping you informed and inspired beyond just this group. So here's what it looks like. On Sundays, you'll receive an email announcing the upcoming weekly training, or in this case, the masterclass. On Tuesdays, I've introduced a new promotional email, and this isn't about pushing anything on you at all. It's simply me sharing what services I offer beyond this group, because I know many of you are craving more personalized support, and I'm here to help you go deeper if you're ready and when you're ready. But it's also the masterclass that gets promoted in that email. It's different things. So please keep an eye out for that email if you like. And on Thursdays, as per usual, I will send you the replay email for those who missed the live training and want to revisit the session. Now, if you're not on my email list yet, but you would like to receive these emails, please send me a message on Messenger with your email address. And if you are on my list, but you're not seeing these emails yet, please check your spam folder or mark my emails as not spam so they don't get lost. Free mentorship calls. I also want to highlight that I have some free mentorship calls slots available in my diary. I had an absolutely amazing call last weekend with Teresa, who's here today. Teresa, let me know in the chat what you thought. And these take back control calls are not sales calls. Absolutely not. They are an opportunity for you to basically get clarity on where you are at and what's keeping you stuck. They are a way to identify the patterns that have been holding you back. And only if you want to, I can explain how I can support you further in breaking free from the survival mode. And there's absolutely no pressure, just a genuine conversation to help you move forward. If that speaks to you, please take advantage of it, because I am genuinely excited to meet you. So Diane, Trina, obviously the people that are here now, I can't say, oh yeah, Diane's still here, sorry. Please book a call, please, because I would love to meet you. Then I have, for today's masterclass, I'll be asking you some questions throughout the session, and I truly value your thoughts and experiences. So please share your answers and insights in the comments as we go along. And there will also be some interactive exercises that we're going to do. So it's going to be hands-on. If you can get some pen and paper or some sort of a notebook or an app on your phone where you can take notes or jot things down. And here's how I will handle the comments in the comment section. I will try to keep the training or the masterclass flowing without pausing too long on the comments, so we keep the momentum going. But if I haven't done so during the masterclass, if I haven't come back to what you've said during the masterclass, I will come back to you at the end to engage with your answers, questions, reactions. So please don't hold back. This space is for you, and your voice matters here. I'm just going to refresh my screen to see if there is anyone there in the Facebook group. No comment. Oh, that's fine. Right. Now, I'm about to go and share my screen and dive into today's topic, which is conditioned to chaos and how your past created your chaotic habitual patterns and how to break free. We are going to explore how conditioning from childhood, relationships, and societal roles have contributed to patterns of emotional chaos. And this workshop will teach you how to start shifting from survival mode into self-empowerment. Are you ready? I know I am. So I'm going to share my screen. And I would like to share screen 3. Yes, that's how many I've got. There we are. All right, so I've still got the chat open. It's all pretty good. Teresa is ready, she says. That's also good. Let me just move around some things here because, yes, 3 screens are nearly not enough. Right, everyone. I am not recording yet. So, oh, yeah, I am. I am all over the place. Hello. Welcome to this Masterclass workshop, Conditioned to Chaos. How your past created your chaotic habitual patterns and how to break free. I am so thrilled you're here today with me. I know life is busy and often chaotic. So the fact that you've actually carved out this time to be here for yourself shows a lot about your willingness to make a change. I'm moving things around again because I can't see things. Yeah. Right, okay. So you deserve a round of applause for showing up. I do think that's how, because it's dedicating this time to yourself, and it's just really good that you're doing that. So go ahead, give yourself a little pat on the back, or type "I showed up" in the chat to celebrate. A short introduction about me for whoever doesn't know me that well yet. I'm Milou Hilhorst, and I'm an empowerment life coach and host of the Shatter Chaos and Conditioning Facebook group. I help women over 40 who are ready to finally put themselves first. All right, so let's do this. Let me tell you what you can expect from this in the next hour. This isn't just another fluffy workshop or a passive lecture. We're here to do the work together. We're going to explore what internal chaos really looks like. And there's a spoiler, it's more than just juggling drama and to-do lists. Okay, how your past has actually conditioned you to create chaos and why that feels safe. And most importantly, how you can start breaking free from these patterns starting today with hands-on exercises we will do together right here and for you to take with you wherever you go and to start practicing it furthermore. Okay, so also, as I promised and announced, there is a prize at the end of this masterclass. The lovely ladies who have actually shown up here in Zoom live today will automatically be entered into the draw at the end. And the prize is a free 50-minute one-to-one coaching session worth $99 with me. So it's definitely worth sticking around for. I hope that you agree with me. Now, I have a next slide. Quick icebreaker. Before we dive in, let's get real for a moment. Chaos shows up differently for everyone. So I'd love to hear from you what that looks like for you. What does chaos feel or look like in your life right now? Is it the never-ending to-do list, the overthinking, the constant busyness, the rushing, the never finishing what you start? I'm guilty of that. The sticking your nose into other people's business. I'm guilty of that too. There. So go ahead. And if you'd like, type your answer in the chat or the comments. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is a safe space, and I guarantee that you are not alone in whatever you share. But while you're typing, let me share a little secret about chaos. The first step to breaking free from it is simply recognizing it. It's not really a secret. It's not a secret, really, but it is the truth. So let's start by putting it into words. Therese says, always being busy. Anyone else? Doing another refresh. Not sure if there's anything in the Facebook group watching. Not yet. That's fine. Shame, but fine. All right, okay, so thanks for sharing. Already you've taken this first step towards understanding and shifting your chaos patterns. Now let's dive into what chaos really is and why it's been such a big part of your life. Let's start by getting really, really clear about what we mean when we talk about internal chaos. For so many of us, when we think of chaos, I've seen your comment, Diane. Thank you for sharing. For so many of us, when we think of chaos, we picture things like an overwhelming to-do list, or dealing with constant drama, or juggling way too many responsibilities. And yes, those external things can feel absolutely chaotic, all right? But the truth is, chaos starts on the inside. It's an internal state of disconnection when you're so busy overthinking or avoiding your feelings that it creates this constant spinning mental loop. It's like your brain is running a hamster wheel going nowhere fast. Does that make sense? But here's the thing. You might not even realize this is happening because it can show up in amazingly sneaky ways. So here's a couple of examples. You can procrastinate. Yeah, you keep putting things off, not because you're lazy, but because you're overwhelmed or afraid of failing. Yeah. You self-sabotage. Perfectionism. You're constantly striving for everyone, for everything to just be right, so no one can criticize you. Or it shows up in people pleasing. You bend over backward for others, hoping to feel validated, even if it leaves you exhausted. And it's the constant busyness, like I talked about earlier. You pack your schedule so full that you don't have a single moment to just be, and maybe that's on purpose, so you don't have to sit with your feelings. Diane says, I'm sometimes afraid to do things because I think I will fail. It's a very common thing, Diane. It's not something that you only have. You're not alone in that. So if we think about these examples, anyone that recognizes themselves in that? I know, Therese, that you mentioned something about self-sabotaging, that you want to do something about that. Does it sound familiar? Maybe all of it does. Therese says yes, and that's okay. The goal here isn't to feel bad about it at all. It's to recognize it so you can actually start making changes. How does that sound? Now, if we look at what it looks like, I know it sounds a bit funny, but we've just looked at the definition, and it can look like more general things. But if you look at what it could actually, be, we're looking at the overcommitting to everyone else. Many women feel like the glue holding everyone together. I know I used to do, or I still do sometimes, but I used to do when I was married. God, geez, that was my, I had to. And this constant caretaking to feel like a badge of honor, but it's often masking an inner exhaustion, which was the case with me. You can see it as the invisible workload. You might lie awake at night thinking, did I send that email for work? What's for dinner tomorrow? Fuck, I forgot to schedule a dental appointment. It's the kind of mental chaos that no one else sees, but that leaves you feeling like you can never, ever switch off. Well, it looks like you're struggling to say no, even when you're stretched too thin. By this age, women over 40, you've spent decades prioritizing others. Saying no feels uncomfortable, maybe even selfish, so you keep saying yes. And you've told yourself it's just easier if I do it myself. And number 4 is you're always in motion, but you never feel fulfilled. You might be rushing from one task to another, but at the end of the day, there's this nagging feeling that you're doing everything and yet accomplishing nothing that truly matters to you. Number 5 is disconnected from yourself. This one's tricky because it's subtle. For women over 40, this disconnection often feels like waking up one day and thinking, I don't even recognize myself anymore. And let's be honest, that's an absolute horrible feeling, isn't it? When you realize that, or when you're saying that to yourself. Number 6 is clinging to control. The chaos can make you feel so disconnected that you overcompensate by trying to control every little thing around you. This creates a vicious circle or a vicious cycle where despite all your efforts, you feel more out of control than ever. And number 7 is you're numbing or escaping through coping mechanisms. When chaos becomes overwhelming, it's common to reach for ways to numb the discomfort. And number 8 is feeling like it's too late to change. But deep down, you're longing for peace and a chance to reconnect with your true self. Diane says, I'm always trying to escape. I'm sorry to hear that, Diane. I know it's really hard. Teresa says, oh, the too late is a big one. Bless you. It's not too late. I am telling you now, it's not too late, okay? But going back to these examples, these aren't just a list of behaviors, okay? They're patterns. They're patterns many women experience but rarely talk about. You're not failing. You're not broken if you recognize yourself in this description or in these examples. These patterns, they don't define you. They're the result of years of conditioning, societal expectations, and coping mechanisms designed to protect you. Now, as we go through this, I want you to recognize that if you're nodding along to any of these, like I said before, you are not alone, okay? These patterns of internal chaos aren't about who you are as a person. They're a response to the pressures, the beliefs, and the fears that have shaped your life, okay? So you are not alone. Now, the first interactive exercise, let's jump into that one. Let's take it a step further. I want you to take a moment to reflect and jot this down, okay? Where in your life do you feel like you're constantly spinning your wheels but never moving forward? It could be in your work, your relationships, your parenting, your personal goals, name it. Wherever it feels like you're putting in so much effort but not seeing any real progress. Teresa says relationships and goals. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so go ahead and write it down. And if you're comfortable, like Teresa is, you can share it in the chat or comments. And remember, there's no judgment here. Absolutely not. This is just about getting honest with yourself. Yeah. Where in your life do you feel like you're constantly spinning your wheels but never move forward? We all got it? We've written it down? Now, the fact that you're able to pinpoint the areas is such a big step. Now, let's go to the next slide and dive deeper into why this chaos keeps showing up in our life. I know I did a training about that last week and I highlighted it a little bit. But let's go back to it for a bit. And how your past has actually conditioned you to create it. I didn't say anything about that last week, so this is going to be an interesting one. So now that we've talked about the internal chaos and how it shows up, let's explore why it's there in the first place. The truth is, your chaos didn't come out of nowhere. It didn't. A lot of it was conditioned, and that means it's been shaped by your past experiences, especially from childhood, but also the cultural and societal expectations that we've got all around us and struggles with self-worth. When you were growing up, you learned certain ways to handle stress, emotions, expectations, how you should be in relationships with others, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. It could have been from anyone, really, from your family, your teacher, society, name it. But here's the kicker. Most of us weren't taught to deal with emotions in healthy ways. Let me know in the chat if you want, if you feel safe enough, if that goes for you as well. Everything was always right or wrong, not just life as it is. Yes, Diane said. So there was a lot of judgment going on, Diane. Now, instead of teaching us how to deal with emotions in a healthy ways, we were taught to avoid them or distract ourselves. Teresa Moore says guilted. You were taught, you were talking to the guilt. Right. So we were taught not to feel them, but we were taught to avoid them or distract ourselves. And still to this day, I bet you that you're struggling to sometimes, keep yourself on the right path with it, and that you fall back into these old ways, right? Maybe you were told things like, stop crying, you're fine. Or don't be so dramatic. Or maybe you grew up in a household where emotions were just not talked about at all, right? So what happens when we grow up with these messages? We don't learn how to process tough emotions like fear, sadness, or shame. And instead, we find ways to distract ourselves from feeling them. And that's where chaos comes in. The internal chaos can actually feel like it's, a coping mechanism. It keeps you so busy, stressed, or focused on external things that you don't have to deal with what's going on inside. Teresa says, I was also taught to just go on, don't mind it, just get on with it. Very, very familiar one for me as well. So if I would give you an example of what I've just said, so we focused on external things so that we didn't have to deal with what Boots, thanks for waiting for me. Flipping. Right. Yes, you do stay there, Teresa. Do not move. Right. I don't know what happened, but my camera stopped working. So I put it on my laptop's camera. It's not as clear, but hey, I'm back. So let's go back to this slide. I'm going to share my screen again. Yeah, I'm back. Sleeping it, giving me stress here. I wasn't too sure what I was going to do. Okay, so I was talking about chaos as a distraction. Oh, Teresa, I absolutely annoyed with things like this. But I'm back. Yay. Right, okay, so the chaos can actually feel like coping mechanisms. So it keeps you so busy, stressed, focused on external things that you don't have to deal with what's going on inside of you. Does this sound familiar? Now, for example, you might overcommit yourself to work or other people because it makes you feel valuable. Okay. Or maybe you procrastinate because it's easier to feel the stress of a deadline than to face your fear of failure. It does sound very familiar. Thank you. This is a lot better. The point is, the chaos serves a purpose. Okay, it's keeping you distracted from feelings you do not want to face. Now, let me give you a quick example. One of my clients grew up in a home where her worth was tied to her achievements. If she wasn't doing something productive, she felt like a failure. So as an adult, she filled her life with endless tasks and obligations, saying yes to everything, even when it completely drained her. It was her way of seeking validation and avoiding the uncomfortable feeling that she wasn't good enough. Now, another client was raised in an environment where conflict was avoided at all costs. So, as an adult, she became the people pleaser, always smoothing things over for others, even if it meant ignoring her own needs. So the chaos of managing other people's emotions kept her from facing her own discomfort and frustration. Does any of this sound familiar to you? These patterns aren't random. They're very much conditioned. Teresa says all. And recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking free from them. Okay? Do not freeze. Right, okay. Next, interactive exercise. Let's do a quick reflection to connect this to your own life. Okay, I want you to think back to your childhood or your upbringing or your past and ask yourself this question. What's one thing that you learned growing up about how to handle stress, how to handle emotions, or how to handle expectations? What's one thing that you learned growing up about how to handle stress, emotions, or expectations? Now, for example, did you learn to tough it out or just keep going? Like, I think it was Teresa that just said that. Did you learn to not ask for help because asking for help is weak? Or maybe you learned that being perfect was the only way to be loved. Or to avoid having to take responsibility. You created and stirred up chaos externally. Take a moment to write it down And if you're comfortable enough, feel free to share your answers in the chat. Now, remember that this is a safe place and we're here to support each other. So if you would like, please share. Diane says, I was not allowed to feel any of that. I'm really sorry, Diane. Which made you hide. I can imagine. It made you hide your own self. Hide your feelings. Must not been a nice place. Must not have been a nice place. What's one thing you learned growing up about how to handle anything that came your way? Could be a phrase. Don't moan, just continue. You know, Diane, you're saying that you so much that I never understand feelings or emotions. I can relate to that because I used to, still am, I'm getting better at it, but I used to not be able to reflect or to look inside at how I was feeling or where I was feeling it. I couldn't. Yeah. It's not a nice place, is it? It's like you're constantly trying to make a connection, but you can't because you can't reach, because you haven't got a clue how to do it. Teresa says, kind of like we weren't allowed to have emotions or we weren't hurt. Yeah. And if we did have the emotions, they were shoved out the window, basically. Not in a nice way. We were made to stop or shut up. Right. Thank you for sharing. That's absolutely really, really courageous and really amazing that you're wanting to do that and that you feel safe enough to do that. So thank you. Now, the fact that you are actually starting to connect these patterns to your past is huge. Okay. And now that we know where these patterns come from, let's talk about how to start breaking free from them, shall we? So, chaos cycle. Like this one. Yes, I'm going to be very confronting today. I apologize. So, we've explored how chaos is conditioned and why it's there. Let's dive into why it's so hard to let go. Okay? There's actually a cycle at play here, a loop that keeps you spinning your wheels. So let me break it down for you. As you can see on this picture, the first one is we create the top. So I've seen your commentaries. I'm just going to move on. I call this organized chaos. You what? What do you call organized chaos? I like this. Teresa, is the don't apologize? Is that another one that you've been taught when you were growing up? Right. I'm just going to continue. If you want to share it with me in the chat, please do. First one is recreate chaos. Okay, so this isn't just the obvious chaos of taking on too much or stirring up the drama. It could also be silent chaos. Silent chaos could look like procrastinating on something important, sabotaging your own success by putting things off, or saying yes to too many commitments, even when you're exhausted. Oh, okay, thank you. Teresa, you apologize for being straightforward. You don't have to. No, I know, I don't. I always make a joke of it, but here in the UK, my straightforwardness is always a bit frowned upon. Right, okay, so silent chaos could be procrastinating, sabotaging your own success by putting things off, saying yes to too many commitments, even when you're exhausted. Okay, now we've got outward chaos, which could be stepping into situations that aren't yours to fix, meddling in other people's business, bad-mouthing someone or a situation, to getting kind of allies on your side. Does that make sense? or even creating conflict where there doesn't need to be any. We do that. And not because we want to, but because it's a coping mechanism. Now, whether it's silent or loud, so whether it's silent or outward, the point is we create chaos. It's a habit. It's a habit and it's a pattern. Okay? All right. The second one is we step into then managing the chaos. So we create it, and then it's like we go to the next step. We can manage it now. Feel important. You know, you might find yourself scrambling to meet a last minute deadline because you've put yourself into a position that you have to do that. Or you're swooping in to solve someone else's problem, even if they didn't ask for your help. Or frantically juggling everything on your plate. Or maybe you're smoothing over a conflict you played a role in stirring up, or rushing to clean up a mess that could have been avoided. Diane says chaos feels comfortable. It does. That's the whole bloody thing about it. It is. That's what it is. And all the other things don't feel comfortable. And that's why we don't do them, because they're uncomfortable. Okay? Now, once the chaos is managed, we move on to the next thing in the cycle, which is basically we feel accomplished and distracted. It's like, phew, I handled it. Or look at everything I got done. But here's the truth. That feeling is temporary. It's not real peace or fulfillment. It's just a distraction. Managing chaos keeps you so busy that you do not have to sit with uncomfortable emotions like fear, sadness, shame, self-doubt, low self-esteem, feeling not good enough, and so on. And this is where you come in, Diane. Chaos feels comfortable. Finally, because it feels so familiar and comfortable, or even rewarding in the short term, we go right back to step one. We start creating chaos again, because that's what we do. You might tell yourself, I work best under pressure. Or I don't know what to do with myself when things are calm. I've heard that one recently. It feels off. And just like that, the cycle starts again. Can anyone relate to this? Teresa says, oh my gosh, this is me. Maybe you recognize some of these patterns in your own life. Let me know in the chat, like Teresa has now kind of burst out in virtual tears. Bless you, Teresa. Let me know in the chat, what kind of chaos do you notice yourself creating? What is the chaos that you create? Now, here's the tricky part. As draining and unfulfilling as chaos is, it often feels familiar, comfortable, and what's familiar feels safe. Correct? So when your brain has spent years in this loop, in my defense, it's usually because I feel like I'm being heard. Yes, exactly. But this, but this is the whole reason. Like, we've been taught that when we create chaos, you know, when we explode, I remember Brandy, please back me up here, that you said at the beginning of your coaching, when you were in the group coaching in the program, in the beginning, you used to call yourself, when I used to be this crazy lady. Yeah. I used to be this crazy lady. Now that is exactly that too. We went crazy. I used to do it. I still do it sometimes. Not, you know, it's causing chaos, because then at least we feel heard, and that's how we've been taught to make ourselves feel heard. That's what we used to do when we were growing up. That's what we used to do when we, in the past with anything. When we used to make a fuss, we were validated or heard or seen. Does this make sense? So when your brain has spent years in this loop, it starts to feel like it's the only way to operate. And maybe you've even tied your word to how much you manage or accomplish. So when things are calm, you feel uneasy, bored, maybe guilty, or uncomfortable. And the truth is, chaos becomes a comfort zone. How silly it sounds. How silly it sounds. And I realize that it does. But chaos keeps you busy, distracted, and focused on external things, so you don't have to look inward or face those deeper, uncomfortable emotions we talked about earlier. Okay, so stepping out of the chaos can feel batshit scary. Like it could feel like it's the end of the world scary because it means facing the unknown, right? And it possibly means confronting fears or feelings that you've avoided for years. And that's why it's scary. Correct? Now, but what if I told you that you do not have to stay in this chaos wheel, on this chaos wheel forever? Let's take a moment to imagine what life could look like if you stepped off. Humor me, humor yourself, yeah? Teresa says, peaceful. I'd like to guide you through a quick visualization. I can't say this word, so I'm saying it funny. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Take in a deep breath and out. Now imagine your life without the constant chaos. No racing to put out fires. No endless to-do lists cluttering your mind. No sticking your nose into other people's problems or overloading yourself with things that don't truly matter. What would it feel like to have all that energy and mental space back? What would it feel like? Teresa says, peaceful yet boring. Would you spend more time with your loved ones? Or would you finally pursue that passion project you've been putting off? Or maybe you just sit with a cup of tea, being boring, feeling completely at peace for the first time, maybe ever. Now take another breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Teresa says, once I set boundaries, that's what happened. What do you mean by that? What I want you to do is to jot down a word or a phrase that describes what that vision looks or feels like for you. Like you said, Teresa, maybe it's peace or freedom or joy, whatever it is. Write it down. And if you feel comfortable enough, share it in the chat. Diane says, I feel odd not knowing what to do. Do you mean about this exercise, Diane? Yes. Thank you for telling me that, because that makes me realize that it might not be for everyone. And this shows that because you've always been in this chaos that you cannot imagine. Like when you have to describe your feelings, that it's just something that is foreign, alien. This might be the same. Okay, so you might not be able to imagine a life without it, which is fine. But that is definitely something that I would like to work on with you. It's almost impossible to do, yes, but it's not impossible to learn. Teresa says that she's sending you a virtual hug. You'll get there. And I agree. I agree. It's all right. Okay, let's just continue and see what the next things are going to bring. Is that okay, Diane? Right. Okay. So if you can keep this vision in mind as we move forward, I know Diane used a little bit hard, but I'm going to help you a little bit further down because now we're going to explore how to start stepping off. Let me get to the next slide. How to start stepping off the chaos wheel and breaking free from these patterns for good. Okay. And we're going to do that with the following things. We're going to look at 2 key mindset shifts that we need to make. And we're going to do 2 activities. The first activity is an awareness exercise, and the second activity is an emotional check-in. Okay. Now let me go to the next one. The key mindset shifts. This is a part of the workshop where we start looking at how to break free from the chaos habits. Okay, the first step is to flip think, my favorite. You probably have heard me say it before. Let's start with 2 flipped thoughts. Oh, bless you, Trina. That's fine. I know you had something else to do. Thank you, Trina. Right. Let's start with 2 flipped thoughts that will help you see this process differently. Okay. I need you to start seeing the chaos as a pattern, not your identity. So you are not the chaos. It's a pattern. And you may have been conditioned to operate this way, but it doesn't define who you are. You are not bad at life or doomed to chaos. You've simply been running a program on repeat, a pattern on repeat that can be rewritten. Okay? How does this sound? Mindset shift 1. Chaos is a pattern, not your identity. Now, the second one is self-compassion. It's crucial. It's crucial. None of this is your fault. Although I do believe that we think it is, that we are at fault here, it is not. Okay? Chaos is often a response to things outside your control, like childhood conditioning, societal pressures, emotional survival. But here's the good news. Now that you are aware of it, you do have the power. You do have the power to change it. Now, when you start with self-compassion, it's much easier to approach the changes that you're making from a place of curiosity instead of judgment. Okay, if you keep judging yourself that you are at fault here, if you keep saying or telling yourself in your head that you are the wrong one, that you're not good enough, it's really, really hard to become curious. Self-compassion is hard. It is. Okay. Now, instead of thinking, why can't I fix this? You have to start asking yourself, what small steps can I take to flip this? Do a Milou in your head. Not sure if you'll like that, but yeah. What small steps can I take to flip this? Okay. We got this? Let's dive into the first, well, not really the first hands-on exercise, but I want you to grab your pen and paper if you haven't already, or open a notes app on your phone or whatever, and take a moment to reflect on this question. Okay. I've talked about chaotic behaviors. I've talked about habits that you notice, that you can notice that you're repeating constantly. Okay. What's one chaotic behavior or habit you notice yourself repeating? Teresa says overthinking. Finding addictions that work at the time to escape. Okay. Now, it doesn't have to be a big or obvious. Okay. Maybe it's something like overloading your schedule and saying yes to everything when you're already stretched too thin, or procrastinating on important tasks until you're in full panic mode, or overcommitting to help others at the expense of your own needs, constantly worrying, overthinking about the future, replaying worst case scenarios in your mind, sticking your nose into situations of people's lives that aren't your responsibility, bad mouthing a situation or others as a way to vent, but finding it only adds to your stress, finding distractions, like you're saying, Diane, focusing on other things. All right, so now I would like you to think of one small, it's small, I'm saying small here because I am not expecting you to stop doing it, because that's unreasonable. Okay, I would love for you to stop doing it, but it's not the goal here. The goal here is to become aware. Okay, so what I would like you to do is then think of one small action you can take to disrupt that behavior. So for example, if you always overbook your time, commit to blocking off just 1 hour in your week to relax or do something for you. If procrastinating is your thing, try breaking a task into smaller steps and scheduling the first step for today. If you tend to say yes to too quickly, practice pausing and saying, I'll think about it before committing. For overthinking, Teresa, could you journal your worries or set a time limit to focus on solutions? Small step that Teresa is giving me would be to deal with the feelings or emotions that is causing the overthinking. Brilliant. And if you often get too involved with other people's dramas, could you take a step back and focus on your own priorities instead? Diane, I'm not sure if there is a small action that you can come up with that could disrupt the behavior. Could it be distracting yourself by, instead of going into a bad addiction habit, that you can distract yourself with a better choice? Like if you feel the need to reach, that you kind of divert that reach into something else. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay. So if you write down your chaotic behavior and your one small action, thank you for sharing that in the comments. That's absolutely amazing. We've done this, yeah? We've got this. Right, let's go to the next one. Sorry, Diane. It's an emotional check-in. I'm making a joke about this because we have to, okay? We have to make a joke about this because we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, but I know how hard it is. All right. Right. I'm gonna challenge you. Diane, I'm gonna help you. Okay. Now that you've identified one way to disrupt your chaos habit, distraction, or deal with the feelings and emotions that's causing the overthinking. Yes, exactly, Therese. Otherwise, we could not deal if we don't laugh. We have to take the mickey out of ourselves sometimes. I think that's part of it. Um, okay, so we need to address something deeper now. And this is funny that you're saying this, Teresa, earlier on, that you want to look at the feelings that are causing the chaos or causing the wanting to cause the chaos. Does that make any sense? It's the emotions that actually fuel the chaos. That's what we need to look at now. Yes. So often chaos is a way to avoid uncomfortable emotions. Diane, goes for you. If we stay busy, we don't have to sit with feelings like fear, sadness, shame, not good enough, anything. But here's the thing. Avoiding emotions doesn't make them go away. It just buries them until they show up in other ways, like stress, burnout. For me, that was the case, or that constant feeling of being overwhelmed. Doesn't make them go away. It will fuel them. And we become the crazy lady, like Brandy has so nicely visualized that. We become the crazy lady. So what I want to do in this exercise is I want to teach you a simple 2-minute method to pause and process your emotions instead of defaulting to chaos. Okay. So when you feel, and Diane, this is, I'm going to tweak it a little bit for you if that's okay, if that would help you. So just give me a second. When you feel yourself going into that state of overwhelm, you know, when you feel yourself going into that state of wanting to default to that behavior you have just jotted down. So when you notice, Teresa, that you start overthinking something or you keep going into that loop, yeah. And Diane, when you feel like that you have to distract yourself with bad habits like addiction, you know, things that are addictive, I need you to do the following. First, I want you to take a deep breath. Breathe in for 4 counts and out for 6. And the next thing I want you to do is ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? You don't need to solve it. Just name it. Diane, I know this is hard for you, but it could be as simple as I'm triggered, I'm anxious, maybe you're tired, or maybe you're angry or resentful. It could be one of these. It could be a very simple. Are you able? That's the question I can never answer. Are you able to name those when you feel this overwhelming urge come up? Are you able to basically pin it down on I've been triggered now. I feel uneasy, so I've been triggered. Because that doesn't necessarily have to describe the feeling yet. Does that make sense? Because that's what helped me a lot. I had it last weekend. I felt triggered. I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't pinpoint it yet. But because I was able to step back and acknowledge that I was triggered, I let myself be for a second, and it was okay. Does it make sense? Would this be something that you could work with, Diane? That when you feel that you've got this urge going, that you don't have to name the feeling, but that you just pause and be and accept the fact that something's off. And that it's okay. And then after that, if you can, I would like you to journal or reflect in one sentence about that emotion or about the trigger or about the I'm pissed off or for example, I feel anxious because I'm worried about. This is for you, Teresa. If you overthink, it could be that because you're anxious. Could easily be. Sorry. Could easily be because you're anxious. Okay? So I need you to reflect in one sentence about that emotion. For example, I feel anxious because I'm worried about. Is this something that you could do, Diane? I'm triggered because someone said something to me that upset me. I'm triggered because things don't happen the way I want them to happen. Does that make sense? It's basically a simple check-in, this exercise, a simple check-in, because it interrupts the chaos cycle. And it helps you to just take a step back and process what's really going on, or get more grip on it for you, Diane. Could this work? What are your thoughts, Teresa? Do you want to practice it right now? Because I might have triggered you now, Diane. I might have triggered you by asking you to do something that you feel incapable of. This is hard but doable. Again, perfect doesn't exist. I've triggered it, Diane. You know what? I actually like the fact that you have now put that into words. And that's okay. It's okay. It's amazing that you are able to pinpoint this now, okay? And then what you can do then, is, okay, I feel uneasy now because I'm noticing I can't do this. And it makes me feel unworthy, or it makes me feel like a failure, like you can't do it. If you would describe it in the easiest words, in the easiest sentences possible, yes, exactly, baby steps. And that is already more than what you were able to do yesterday. And I don't know if I've said this to you before, but I'm convinced that we try forward. That makes sense? You try forward. Because every single try is more than what you did yesterday. And that's okay. A try is good enough. So Diane, you feel triggered. Do you know why? Something that helped me was learning the definition of each emotion with examples included. It has allowed me to determine what I am feeling. Yes, exactly. That's the next. I know it's part of my program as well. Brandy can put can acknowledge that. It's part of my program that we go through this. Diane says, because anything with emotions makes me want to run. I know. But I'm pausing you in this moment of time. Step back. Teresa says, I understand this all too. I do. I think we all do. Do you hear this, Diane? You're not alone. So, more than welcome. Right. Keep this emotional check-in, but keep it, Diane, keep it as a more, less emotion focused, more, even if you could describe, I feel off. I feel shit. I've screenshotted it. Smart. Does that make sense? It's not about perfection. It's about trying, and small steps are massive and huge already. Okay. Are we happy to continue? Diane says yes. Enough now. Fuck off. Thing. Right. Okay. Next thing. And again, I'm making a joke. I don't care. It's fine, Diane. You know what, Diane? I think that the people that are the most honest with you and the people that do trigger you are probably the people that are also able to help you. Does that make any sense? I know I'm dead honest, and I know I acknowledge that I can be too honest sometimes or trigger people. I feel some compassion to me, towards me, or towards yourself. They're the best because they understand. But yeah, I hope that you realize that I do. So thank you. Thank you. I'm really, really, really appreciating your input. Right. Okay. So by identifying the chaotic habits and checking in with your emotions, or just saying, I feel off, I feel shit, I don't understand it, that's fine. Okay? That already shows that you're wanting to understand. You've already taken 2 powerful steps today towards breaking free from the chaos habit. So in the next section, we're going to tie it all together and talk about how to start creating that life that feels calmer, grounded, more grounded, and more in control on your terms. Okay, so I want you to remember this. As we wrap up today's session, because we're getting over time a little bit, I apologize. Let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've covered. First and foremost, I need you to remember this. You are not the chaos. It's not who you are. It's something you were conditioned to create. It's something that you were conditioned with. Okay? But just because it's been your pattern, it doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. And the second one is, you now have the power to break the chaos cycle. And the way to do that is through awareness and small, consistent actions. Change doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately, but every small step you take brings you closer to getting that freedom, to that more peaceful, grounded life. Okay? Do not think that you can't do it, Diane. You can learn it. It's uncomfortable, yes. It's shit, yes. I agree. And it feels horrible. But you're not alone. And you're here. And that's amazing. Okay? Now, I'd love for you to reflect on everything we've talked about today and share one thing that you'll commit to doing differently this week. So here's your prompt. What's one small step you'll take this week to create more peace in your life? Let me know. Take a moment to jot it down in your notebook or share it in the chat or comments. I'll give you a moment to think about it. What is one small step you'll take this week? Teresa says, deal with my feelings or emotions when I'm overthinking. Very good one. Diane, are you going to find a different distraction? Diane's not sure yet. That's okay. Totally okay. Right. Obviously, I can't close a session without naming what I do. If today's session has resonated with you, and if you're finding yourself ready to take this journey even further, I'd love to support you. I offer several services. In this slide, you can see the Peaceful Chaos Method group coaching program. On the right top one, and this includes lifetime access to the online content hub, weekly or twice monthly group coaching sessions, access to the exclusive Facebook group for the Peaceful Chaos Method, and regular check-ins with me. On the left of the top one, you've got the Peaceful Chaos Method Foundations level, which is access to the online content hub only. Here you do the work yourself, but you have access to all my tricks and tools and lessons and whatever, what. And in the right bottom, you can see my one-to-one coaching sessions and packages if you prefer just the coaching exclusively with me instead of a group coaching. So that's what I offer. And of course, the Take Back Control mentorship call that I mentioned at the beginning. This call is free, very free, totally free. Teresa had one over the weekend. It made each other's day, or it made my day, and I hope it made your day, Teresa. I offer this call because I'd love to meet you. It was enlightening. Diane, I could enlighten you on the call. You're more than welcome to book one. Seriously, I would love to meet you. Okay. I offer this call because I'd love to meet you and see how I can help you get the clarity about where you are at right now. Diane says that. And what you can do to move forward. Diane, even if it's a small thing, I'm happy to help, okay? This isn't a sales call at all. This is simply me giving back and genuinely helping you, only if you want me to. I can inform you about my services and help you figure out what would be suitable for you. Teresa says it wasn't. Do you mean it wasn't a sales call? So the things I offer are designed, yes, the things I offer are designed specifically to help women like you break free from the chaos habit, to find your voice, to create a life that feels peaceful and fulfilling. And after tonight, after today, this afternoon for you guys, I'll also be sharing today's replay, which will be available for the next 4 days for everyone who registered. So if you want to revisit any part of the session, you'll have that opportunity. Now, before we move on to the final message, I'm going to escape this and do this. Now, we have loads of people actually register, but there's only 2 remaining, so I am going to have you 2 in there. And we're going to draw. Who's going to win? Who is going to win this free coaching session with me? It is Diane. Congratulations, Diane. You've won a free one-to-one coaching session with me, and I am going to follow up with you personally after the session to arrange all the details. You're welcome. You know what? I'm actually going to do something else. Teresa, because you are the two standing last, I'm going to give you one as well. So I am, there. I'm going to give you both. Yes, there. I like it. All right. So both two winners. So I will send you a message after this session. And that's that. So I'm going to go back to my lovely masterclass slideshow, which has not got a lot left. It was nearly done. Just stay with me. I hope so. The prize draw. We've already done it. Well, both winners. So my final message for tonight, I want to leave you with this. Breaking free from chaos isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Okay? Every small action you take is a win, Diane. Every small action you take is a win. And every bit of awareness you build is a step closer to the peace you deserve. You've already started that journey today, and I am so, so proud of you for showing up, for staying, not just for the session, but for yourself. And you're capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. And I can't wait to see where this journey takes you. And I am so happy to both be following up with you in a one-to-one coaching session. Thank you so much for being here, for your engagement, for your trust, for your lovely words. You're lovely to each other as well. Now, if you would like, oh, bless you, just showing up was the best. Well, I hope I've come true to the expectations of today's masterclass. If you'd like to stay for another 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to stop recording. So if you want to stay for another 5 to 10 minutes for a post masterclass Q&A or just to say hello, I can unmute you. Please do. Or if you can't or have enough of me, that's an option. Then I wish you a lovely rest of your day, and I hope today has been enlightening. Thank you for coming, and I hope to talk soon. Right, I'm going to stop sharing this. Stop share. I think Diane has left. Right, I'm going to stop this live video as well. Bye, everyone.